Okay, the American portion of pre-season is done, and we had a shiny new signing, two of them, show us what they are capable of. I think the impression that we're coming away with, one, Onana, is very, very positive. We think he's going to absolutely level us up. And Mason Mount, I think, has probably delivered a lot more questions. Prior to him coming, we looked at a couple of ways that Mason might be able to fit into the squad. And he offers Ten Hag a lot of tactical flexibility. And interestingly, across the games that we've seen a lot of tactical flexibility involving Mason Mount. We speculated that you might see Bruno moved over to the right, Mason played in the 10 when you come up against a bigger opposition. We did that against Real Madrid. And against Real Madrid, we lost Kobe Mainoo nice and early, and therefore we didn't quite get to see what I think Ten Hag was looking to kind of play. But there's a lot of questions that remain unanswered with him. And I've mentioned this a couple of times in the last, week or so, that I don't think Mason's played bad, but I also don't think he's played well. And I think he's just kind of been fine. It's an okay kind of performance. But so have a lot of the England players. And I don't know if that's related. And maybe we'll start to see it levelling up from all of them. Marcus, Luke Shaw, etc. But his price tag looks like one that I think he is capable of living up to. So let's look at what we've seen. Now, he has been good in flashes. And I think there was moments in some of the games that really show the quality that he's got. He's got this tenacity and knack of being able to get onto second balls, which is something that it isn't sexy. They're not really going to go into anyone's highlight reel, but they're an absolute necessity. And if you ever listen to Pep Guardiola talking about second balls, he's got a couple of press conferences where he actually loses his fucking shit when he's talking about second balls. And he actually started to train them at City because it was something that he never dealt with in Spain. And he never really dealt with in Germany. And the second ball in England is such an important thing. And that's one of the weird things about matches in Spain and Germany. Teams give up, and it probably won't be given up in the truest sense of the word, but in the Premier League, people think they can still beat you when they're 2-0 down. And they don't change their shape to try and hold on to that 2-0 lead. They're like, nah, fuck this, I'm getting one back. And the second ball then becomes an important thing because teams are constantly trying to fight for the full 90 minutes. And when you look at what Mount delivers versus what, say, a Christian Eriksen delivers, they've both got these qualities on the ball, but Mount's got that extra off the ball thing. And one of the things, I certainly saw it against Dortmund, he's got this way of just getting onto a second ball, doing something that you don't see a Christian Eriksen doing. In the first few games, I thought Mount was receiving the ball really, really nice. He's a player that plays with his head up. He's got vision. He's got range. He's got the ability to find a pass. And I think the determination that he plays with, coupled with the versatility that he offers, we were quite on it with, I mean, even in just this 2-week period, we've seen him play like a number of different positions, but also a number of different roles within what seemingly on paper looks like it's going to be the same kind of position. He's been an integral part of our press. It's going to be really interesting to see how it links up with Rasmus Højlund, who is an excellent presser of the ball. He's always engaging opposition players really effectively. He's capable and willing to force mistakes from the opposition. The Leeds game stands out as being one where he does that. And when asked about him, Ten Hag had the following comment to say. He said, I'm sure he's going to bring dynamic into our game, and that's one of our analytical conclusions from last season. We need to be more dynamic in the midfield department. And I'm so glad Ten Hag not only has identified that, because there's one thing identifying that, and there's two things actually coming out and saying that's what you've seen and identified and are trying to fix within the team, because sometimes they keep that sort of thing confidential. But I think we all saw it, and I think particularly the FA Cup final and the semi-final against Brighton, we saw Manchester United dominated in midfield. We didn't we? Right? We got absolutely run over. And I think having different options and different tools to be able to do different jobs puts Manchester United in a really good place. Now, I think there's also going to be an adjustment period. It's a new role, several new roles, actually. It's a new club. He's played for his boyhood club for his entire life. Now he's got to play with Manchester United, which Chelsea are a big club in the grand scheme of things, but Manchester United are a monster. the pressure, the press, the expectation, the scrutiny, even what I'm doing here now, really. Does this happen at Chelsea? Does this happen when you're an England player? All of these things add weight to the job. And it was always going to be like this for him. He's come from a club that was in turmoil like Chelsea, which has probably put a slight dampener on people's excitement for him coming in because everyone stunk the place out at Chelsea last season, hence the shitstorm that they was in. And knowing the high expectations that Ten Hag has of his players, certainly ones he's paid big money for, Mount's going to need to find the time to click with his new teammates. He's in a fortunate position that he plays with a couple of them at international level. And like I said, he has looked good in flashes. He just hasn't looked like, wow, in any particular game where you're like, what a player we've got on our hands here. But I think linking up with the likes of Casemiro and Bruno more and more as the season starts to develop and as he starts to get comfortable with them and he starts to return to peak condition as well, I think you are going to start to see the genuine quality of him really coming to the fore. And then if we look at the role, it looks like he's basically going to be stepping into the Christian Eriksen role in the team, which means he'll probably be starting more often than not. It remains to be seen whether that changes once Amrabat comes in, which I expect is going to happen, to be honest. I don't know where I'm getting the confidence for that, but I do. And I think there's still definitely going to be games for Eriksen. I mean, he's shown in the Dortmund game just now. There's so many qualities that he has in the game. There's so many things that he can do. I think if you're maybe, you get 2-0 up, last 30 against someone you expect to win, get Bruno off, protect him, throw Eriksen on, and don't lose the ball. And Eriksen could slot into that. He could slot in when it's an edgy game even, and you don't want to lose a 1-0 lead because you want to keep hold of the ball a little bit more, and maybe you're not going to try and push and try and get that second. You could maybe go to a false 9 or maybe play a pair of 10s, and you could really do some funky experimentation where you keep hold of the ball involving someone like an Eriksen. But I do think Mount could be the sort of perfect balance to handle the responsibilities that Ten Hag needs the number 8 to fulfill. And the same with Amrabat as well, to be honest. I think on the other side, there's a potential for Mount to be stepping in and giving Bruno the night off. And we did see that against Leeds and Lyon, where he stepped into the space that Bruno occupies. Mount became the free roamer of a free in midfield. And that versatility is what we're always seeking. That's going to keep Bruno, Eriksen, Mount featuring and keep us competitive. What we saw from United last season was a team that got run into the ground. And to be honest, we've seen that since Ole was manager and probably even since Mourinho was manager. Managers at Manchester United over the last few years have been able to assemble a good 11 or a good 10. We haven't been able to establish a good 15 or 16 where you can go, take him out, put him in, and the quality drop hasn't been much. Last season, it was very noticeable when someone that wasn't in the first 11 came into the 11, the drop-off was substantial. What Manchester United and Erik ten Hag are trying to do, I believe, is build a squad where this guy gets a night off and that guy gets a night off and the quality doesn't change. Last season, the injury to Eriksen and the suspension to Casemiro at times was crippling. Even more so when Sabitzer was out as well. But now you've got Mount, you've got depth to compete on all fronts. I think Kobe Mainoo's going to have a hand in what goes on this season too. Squad management becomes a little bit easier for Erik ten Hag. And then it's about tailoring the right tools to the right job. Mount is going to be a big part of that. And a big player for Manchester United. And if it all goes well this season, the goals and assists that I am certain Mason Mount will deliver are going to be big for Manchester United. So while at the moment I don't think there's been a man of the match performance, and while there hasn't been a moment that's absolutely, what have I just seen? I've seen flashes and I've seen versatility. I've seen tenaciousness. I've seen winning of second balls. And I've seen a player that I know has got extra gears in him. And I'm pretty confident you're going to see them with him as well. But that's it from me. Please let me know your thoughts on Mason Mount. Where do you think this season's going to develop for him? What sort of position and role do you expect him to feature in the most? Is it just going to be a case of drop into the Christian Eriksen role, or do you think it's going to be something more for him? Cheers for tuning in. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.